I'm Ted Keys, your host and top freight agent training expert here in Southern California. This topic comes from my 30 plus years of business, sales, and freight moving success. Watch, learn, and apply it. You'll move more freight efficiently, effectively, effortlessly, and make more money financially. And call me at 626-309-9141 with any questions. Now explode your business with...
Hello and welcome to my Tuesday conference call. I'm Ted Keys, your host and top freight agent training expert here in Southern California. Today I'll show you how to move more freight efficiently, effectively, and effortlessly so you make more money financially. And after the call today, go to my website, tedkeysonline.com, to hear more of my podcasts, read more of my blog posts, watch more of my videos, and while you're there, visit my Freight Sales Success Store for top-notch freight moving products to explode your business today. And if you have any questions today, any questions regardless of what it is, or specifically, are you ready for my top producing one-on-one personal freight sales, freight broker training? Then give me a call, Ted Keys. I'm at 626-309-9141. Today's training topic that I'll talk about today is solutions for freight sales prospecting objections. Solutions for freight sales prospecting objections. For those of you that are on my contact list and you received your email invite to this call today, just go to any one of those invites that I sent you and go down to the bottom. We're going to go over the free attachments that I talked about, free attachments for this call. Now, if there's one thing you're going to come across as a beginner freight sales agent is you are going to come across objections. Just because of the way you talk, the way that you get on the phone with somebody, a lot of times the shipping decision maker will realize that, hey, this guy, he either doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's certainly not saying words that I can relate to, nor do I want to converse with him. So basically what he does is he comes up with objections as to why he doesn't want to talk to you today. Well, I'm going to basically go over three scenarios why these objections occur. I'm going to tell you about the occurrence itself, the mistake you make, and the solution that you will utilize in order to overcome the objection. So let's go ahead and open up that first attachment at the bottom of your email invite, and let's talk about solutions for freight sales prospecting objections. Now, as I said earlier, I'm just going to go over three common freight sales prospecting scenarios that you must avoid if you're going to be and continue to become successful in this profession. Let's talk about scenario number one. Scenario number one I've titled, "It's all about them and not about you." One more time. Scenario number one, it's all about them and not about you. So let's talk about scenario number one. Here's what happens in scenario number one. So you finally connect, all right? Could be after a week, it could be after a month, it could be after 6 months, but you finally connect and introduce yourself to your freight prospect. Then you explain what you do and suggest the fabulous benefits and features of your awesome freight service. Then you close your eyes and pray that your now bored and almost sleeping prospect is still interested in your great freight service. That's scenario number one. So let's talk about the mistake that you made in this scenario, meaning scenario number one. Let's talk about the biggest or the main mistake that you made here. You see, unfortunately, the moment you stop talking in this scenario that I just talked about, you usually hear these objections, okay? You're going to hear, "Sorry, I'm busy," or "Sorry, I'm not interested," or "Sorry, we're real slow right now." See, those are just one of many objections that you could hear. I'm just giving you the first three. Now, you've made the mistake by starting your call by talking about your world, all right, and what you have to offer. That's basically the mistake you made. All you talked about was your world and what you have to offer. Realistically, most freight prospects aren't all that interested in you, especially if this is your first, second, or even your third call to them. When you only talk about your company and your freight service, it's just another advertisement to your prospect that they have no time to listen to. Remember, when you don't engage them, all they're going to do is turn the page, and you with them. Your freight prospects are only interested in themselves and what's sitting on their plate that must be accomplished right now. So what do we do as a solution in this scenario? Well, go ahead and go to that second page, and let's talk about the solution for scenario number 1. Here's what you do. Start your conversation by focusing on your freight prospect only. Again, it's not about you, it's all about them. Then they're much more likely to interact with you. Talk about an issue, talk about a challenge which they have that requires your solution and your solution only. Focus on them first rather than you, then see where that takes you. Focus on them rather than you and see where that takes you. Again, you're going into this, you're going to ask them a series of questions that I even provide these questions on my sales call information sheet in my Freight Sales Success Guide. It basically takes you from point A to point Z, but focus on them, not you, then see where that takes you. So that's your solution to scenario number 1, which I've titled, It's All About Them, Not About You. Let's talk about scenario number 2. Scenario number 2, where you're unfortunately going to receive an objection when you do this. So scenario number 2 is I've titled, Your Confidence is Way Overrated. Scenario number 2, your confidence is way overrated. So what do I mean by that? Well, so you've made contact. Again, it's taken you who knows how long, a day, a week, a month, a year to finally make contact with your prospect. And when you do make contact, what you do is you're totally confident that your freight prospect must use your freight service. Again, this is more of an attitude than anything. In turn, you're ruthlessly focused on the sale. Again, that's of moving their freight, and completely confident that your freight service is what your prospect must utilize. You act as if all your competitors are out to lunch, and humility plays no part in the sales process. That's a general description of scenario number 2. Your confidence is way overrated. Let's talk about the mistake you just made in scenario number 2. The challenge with this scenario is that you haven't asked your freight prospect to determine this and how confident you are along with you. I mean, just think about it, guys. You're deciding for someone else what's actually good for them. This may not be what's intended, but that's exactly what comes out of your mouth and your actions to your freight prospect. So that's the mistake you've made here in scenario number 2. What are we going to do? Let's talk about the solution, apply the solution, and guess what? This mistake or scenario is not going to happen. So here's your solution in scenario number 2. Rather than being full of confidence and enthusiasm, stop and think about your freight prospect first. Relax into a calm and real conversation instead of charging ahead with a persuasive sales pitch and a quick strategy to the solutions that they require of you. Put yourself in their shoes. Again, put yourself in their shoes. How would you act if somebody just, slammed open your office door, came in and said that they're the solution for all your challenges? You obviously would recoil and tell them to leave. How many times have telemarketers acted this way toward you? I mean, really think about it when they call you at 7, 8 o'clock at night. And how have you reacted to them in turn? That phone gets hung up more quickly than you can imagine and remember, right? So, slow down. Here's what you're going to do. Slow down. Invite them to explore along with you whether what you have to offer is actually something or your freight service is what they can actually utilize. You see, your prospect is totally able to distinguish the difference between your service and somebody else's. After all, if they've been doing this a while, they can determine the difference. You see, you're inviting them to see whether you're able to solve a challenge that they may have with your cargo. This makes a much better connection at the beginning. Then you get far less objections during these initial conversations while developing and building a strong relationship with them. So scenario number 2 is your confidence is way overrated. Don't go into a freight prospect with this, hey, I've got it all type attitude, or, hey, look at the confidence that I have. Hey, your prospect will pick up on that and you'll be gone sooner than you can imagine. Let's talk about scenario number 3. All right, scenario number 3 I've titled Your Freight Prospect Overcomes Your Objection. So here you are, you've been taught to overcome their objection. In the process, scenario number 3, they overcome your objection because you've overcome their objection. Let's talk a little bit further about scenario number 3. So here's what happens in scenario number 3. Your freight prospect brings up an objection to you, all right, for whatever reason. Basically they tell you we're real slow right now because they didn't like your attitude going into the call. You give it your best attempt to overcome it, then create another objection in the process. Let's talk about the mistake you made in scenario number 3 here. Freight prospecting can be challenging enough, guys. Now, I don't say that in a negative way. I say it in a positive way, and it can be challenging at the beginning. As you get better and better at this, the challenges become less and less. Why? Because you keep getting better and better at this, just like you would in a sports team or any type of sports activity. Sometimes you're not familiar with your prospect's business, especially when you don't do any research on them before making that first call. Now, if that's the case, you won't know much about their issues, their problems, their budgets, and their time constraints either. In addition to that, not everyone is going to benefit by using your freight service, and your freight service it just plain out won't be a match for everyone. Yet when your freight prospect brings up an objection, you typically have the urge to overcome it, okay? When you do that, you put your prospect on the defensive. It's gonna happen every time, especially when your solution is not what they're looking for. Mainly when your solution is not what they're looking for. I mean, think about it. They give you an objection and you throw a solution at them that doesn't even apply to their challenge. Well, what are they going to do? They're going to tell you to get lost, or they're going to hang up the phone on you. Something they've told you just is being dismissed. And this is typically where objections happen again and again, and also on top of each other, where you keep going back and forth, okay? So that's the mistake you've made. You've attempted to overcome their objection. They come back and they object to you objecting to them, and then you just keep going. So that's the biggest mistake you've made here in scenario number 3. Let's talk about your solution to this scenario, okay? It's so much better to listen. Again, it's so much better to listen to your freight prospect's concerns and then continue to explore whether your freight service actually makes sense for them. There are many other ways you can validate their viewpoint where they won't close the conversation on you. So that is your solution to scenario number 3. Scenario number 3, again, is your freight prospect overcomes your objection. Let's go ahead and move on to that 4th page of this attachment. Let's talk about the conclusion to all these 3 scenarios. They all wrap into one. Here's your conclusion to all 3 scenarios, and that is totally focus on your freight prospects. I don't know how many times I tell you in my calls, focus on your prospects. It's never, ever, ever about you and this fabulous freight service that you have. Always, always, always make it about your freight prospect. That's the first conclusion. The second conclusion is engage them more and more while you're interacting with them. So, conclusion number 1, totally focus on your freight prospect. 2, engage them more and more while interacting with them. then the objections you're accustomed to will happen less and less. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's your main conclusion to all this stuff. Let me say it again. Totally focus on your freight prospects, engage them more and more while interacting and building that strong, solid business relationship with them so they see your value, they see your experience, and they allow you to move their freight. Again, thanks for joining me today on my Tuesday conference call, Solutions for Freight Sales Prospecting Objections. In wrapping up my call today, I'm going to ask you a few questions. First question is, do you want to receive those email notices and the free attachments that I provide on each and every call? And go to tedkeysonline.com, and on any one of my website pages off to the right, enter your contact details. Main question is this: are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team? There's a reason why you got on this call today. You got on the call because you know you are going to get free top-notch training from me. My question is this: are you ready to join our top producing freight sales team? Yes? Then give me, Ted Keys, a call. I'm at 626-309-9141. Great topic today. Again, that is solutions for freight sales prospecting objections. Stop making these three scenarios. Stop making those mistakes. Apply the solutions for each one that I went over with you. Take care. I'll see you all again next Tuesday, same time, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on my Tuesday conference call. Take care. God bless. I'll see you all again next week. Bye-bye. When you arrive at my Freight Sales Success Store today, you'll see a host of products available there for purchase. First one you'll see available is my flagship product. That is my Freight Sales Success Guide, typically for beginner and struggling freight agents. If you're searching for that daily motivation to set goals, to achieve them, to pick up the phone daily and connect and build relationships with the marketplace, then opt for my Freight Sales Success Quotes. And if you're searching for those specific skills, and there are many skills, many individual skills required to be successful in this profession, then opt for my Freight Sales Success Skill. I highly recommend each one of these products, available for purchase today in my Freight Sales Success Store. Do you have any questions again? Do you have any questions about today's call? Or more importantly, are you ready for my top producing one-on-one personal freight sales, freight broker training? Then give me, Ted Keys, a call. I'm at 626-309-9141. Great topic for today. Take these skills, apply them. You'll be amazed at what happens to your results.